The explosion at Hunga Tonga, Hunga Haʻapai, that looked like a tiny pimple from space on 13 January was not tiny anymore just 2 days later. From the ground, the devastation looks quite phenomenal. The explosion was seen by both West and JAXA's Himawari 8 geostationary satellites. This was probably the biggest explosion that has ever been captured since Mount Pinatubo of Philippines in 1991. The explosion was so powerful that even the Tsar Bomba would look puny beside it. Just look how big the ash cloud is when seen from 36,000 kilometers from space. The eruption triggered more than 200,000 lightning flashes, which were only visible in radio wave detectors. Though we still don't know much about lightning flashes of a volcanic disturbance, the topic is being studied by scientists. It is extremely difficult to study an erupting volcano, but scientists believe we are near a breakthrough. They think positively charged particles interact with ash in the atmosphere to create the lightning. The island itself was inhabitant, but not the nearby ones. Till counting to 3 deaths, the nearby islands now look like grey lunar surface. Damage from volcanoes come in many different forms. The most obvious is the ash cloud. The volcanic ashes pollute the atmosphere and is extremely hazardous to lives. The nearby islands of Tonga has been covered in ash. This before and after satellite images tells the whole story. The locals had been suggested to stay inside as breathing the ash will be deadly to lungs. The beautiful and green scenery of island of Tonga now looks dead and colorless. This is not a good news for even the plants initially, but later it will be very beneficial to them. Volcanic ash is a natural fertilizer, as a wide range of minerals are present on them. It has been observed that in volcanic islands trees grow very well, but in Tonga, the volcanic ash has risen so high that it has penetrated the stratosphere. That is actually a big problem because there the ash will stay for months and circulate around the entire globe. The tiniest ash aerosols contain poisonous chemicals like hydrogen sulfide, hydrofluoric acid and sulfuric acid, so that will cause a problem too. Importantly, these ash particles may cause a slight drop in the temperature of Earth as a whole, as sulfuric acid can reflect sunlight. Though the effects will be very slight, it will take a much bigger explosion to cause another ice age. But the bad news is, these particles will eventually fall back on Earth with rain, or in other words, these particles will cause acid rain. In this image, you can see the ripples of shock waves blasting away from the volcano. The ripples can be observed in infrared as it is better in detecting slightest of the changes in atmospheric pressure. The shock wave was loud and it can travel faster than the speed of sound. This video will give you an idea how loud the shock wave was.
Oh, fuck! Holy sh!
These locals captured this video. Though this may be a lesser shock wave, they are very lucky that they still have ears that can hear. The pressure wave broke many glass windows in the island. The pressure wave was detected by various weather centers around the world at least 4 times. Though it was not audible in the US, it indeed was in Australia and New Zealand. There are some reports that say it was even heard in Alaska. Generally, underwater volcanoes do not cause tsunamis, but this event was not like any we had ever seen. The sudden and massive event triggered an earthquake that caused a tsunami, although that was not a big one in the end. The last damage is the volcanic island itself, which may not actually be a damage. Hunga Tonga, Hunga Haʻapai Island is located exactly at the boundary of Pacific and Indo-Australian convergent belt. This area is very active. Before 2014, it was just two submerged islands separated by ocean. The caldera was around 150 meters below the sea level. It had since erupted and filled the gap. NASA-funded science team led by James B. Garvin had been studying this island for a few years now, but the study has a different purpose. NASA wants to understand how these volcanoes make islands and react with water, as because there are plenty of old volcanoes in Mars that are thought to be surrounded by water billions of years ago. Scientists want to find the similarities between erosion patterns of these volcanoes that are forming land here in the ocean to understand if there really was water on Mars. If similarities are found, that would prove the theory that the Martian volcanoes were once surrounded by water. It's also interesting for scientists to tell how similar Earth and Mars is despite the differences. As for Hunga Tonga, Hunga Haʻapai, the shore of the newly formed island was washed away by seawater. But the water reacted with lava to create a much more harder and more resistant type of rock. Then the volcanic activity had stopped and the island of Hunga Tonga, Hunga Haʻapai stayed a small island till a few months ago. Then the volcano erupted again, and this time the force was so massive that it decimated the island. The island, which was a long stretch of land just in 2021, is now two separate islands again, just like before 2014. Just think, what if Earth ever had the same fate like Mars and the sea was completely dried up? What now looks like a tiny island will look like a 2,000-meter high mountain from seafloor. Actually, the volcanic activity is the thing that stops oceans from drying up. Earth's core is still very active, and this sometimes moves the tectonic plates. The core is the reason why we have a strong magnetosphere. If the core is cooled up, what will happen in a few billion years? Then Earth will lose its magnetosphere and start to lose oceans very soon. And within a handful of months, it will start to look just like Mars. Scientists believe this is the same thing that had happened to Mars too. Luckily, the effects of this volcano is very minimal, but a lot worse could have happened. As the volcanic activity ceases slowly, the island may stay like this for maybe 10 to 20 years before erupting again. New Zealand and Australia has shared a helping hand before anyone else, as because the runways are filled with ash, planes cannot land there. So, most of the relief is being sent on ships. So, we must keep on studying the effects of these volcanoes. It will not just help us make our future safer, but also help us understand what happened to Mars. Though we are still not technologically advanced enough to stop any extinction level event, but we may find a way to slow it down, or maybe we can study and be more advanced. Thanks for watching.